Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to another live stream. We're here. Frank Lampard has just been sacked. I don't know if anyone's surprised after that West Ham game, but he's gone now. It's official. Frank Lampard has left the club after a torrid past season, really. We had the end of last season, which was, it wasn't really a high, but it was, a lot of moments that a lot of Everton fans will remember, maybe not for the best, but we come into this new season and we've just been absolutely dreadful. I think what it said on Sky Sports was we've won one in our last 14 games in all competition. I think he had to go. I think it's quite interesting already seeing the names popping up. Quite ironically, as soon as Frank gets his forward he wanted in Danjuma, he's sacked. That's not me saying he didn't deserve the sack. I think he definitely deserved the sack. I think, probably a bit too late when we sacked him, to be completely honest with you. I think we probably should have sacked him a little bit earlier. But it's one of those where it's done now, but we're giving this new manager a week of the transfer window. Are they even going to get any signings in? I don't know. It's one of those where is Kevin Felwell working with the manager and saying, listen, we can get these players in if you tell me now, something like that. But it's rumoured that Marcelo Bielsa is going to be is now all of a sudden who the board wants. But is it one of those things where is this just the board trying to please fans with nice football, even though realistically we should be aiming for survival? It's one of those things. It's a very weird situation, but we're just going to get straight into it. Owen says, hey, Cal, hello, Owen, how are you? Paul says, yo, hello, Paul. Owen puts here, shame I liked Frank, but he had to go. I was the same. I think he was a very likable manager. I think, but it's the same thing with Michael Silva. Silva was a not likable guy, and it's just one of those things. It just didn't work out in the end. I think it's one of those where this was bound to happen. I think, you looked at the results after the 2 losses to Bournemouth, even probably before that, a lot of people were going, this is going to go the same way Benitez did, Silva did, Coleman did, all these managers that we've had over the years where it just hasn't worked. And it's just gotten to the point now where can we really blame the manager anymore if the manager's the problem every time? It's one of those where I think the club has to take some responsibility for their mistakes. Will they? No, we saw after the West Ham game with Moshiri saying it's not his decision. I think he meant something like it had to be a board decision if Frank went, but at the same time, if your owner's coming out and saying it's not my decision to sack the manager, then it's one of those. Irwin puts it's got to be Big Sean. I don't think it will be after seeing the reports that have come out that the club don't want Sean Dyche in. I think it's unfortunate because while I don't think Sean Dyche is the best manager, and I know there's probably people in this chat where Sean Dyche has his admirers, I do think he would have kept us up. I do think, he would have got us very close to it, and he's a good enough champion. Well, he's a very good championship manager to the point where I trust him to keep us up. Owen puts here, Bielsa wouldn't suit us. I think you're right. I think there is players who'd suit a Bielsa system. There's certain players in the squad that would. But I think we've got too many people who just aren't willing to work hard enough. And you look in those forward areas mainly. I can imagine that's what Danjuma's been brought in for. But I can imagine Danjuma's been brought in to play on the wing, not up front. He can play up front, but I can imagine he's brought in to be a winger, really. So it's one of those where are we just giving up and going, right, well, this is it now. I can imagine not. Danjuma, I can't imagine it's a really expensive loan, but I can't imagine it's very cheap either. So it's in a situation where he hopefully should fit. He's been quite good for Villarreal in the league, Champions League. He had some good games, so he's a good player and he's much, much better than any of the wingers we have right now. But I think it depends on the manager who comes in that's going to use him. Because if we have a little look here together, if I share my screen and we do this, as you can see here, these are the next permanent manager odds for the club. As you can see, Marcelo Bielsa's number 1, Dyche at 2, Duncan Ferguson at 3. At this point, we're at the usual names here, except here. So we've got, from here with Sean Dyche all the way to here, it's the usual suspects. Every time we sack a manager or, the recent times if you had a look back at when we sacked Rafa, I don't think the odds would have been much different to this, to be completely honest with you. So I think it's one of those things where, are we really actually doing? Are we doing anything different? Are we trying anything different? Or are we just looking at the same names once again, like we always do, and going, hopefully name number 3 works this time. Hopefully name number 4 works, it feels like every time we sack a manager, we have the same list of names, hoping that they'll work, and in the end, we just keep running in a circle, and it just doesn't work. And that is the club's fault. It's massively the club's fault, and but I also just think the club will not accept that it is their fault. So I think Eugene puts. I think Big Dunk Ferguson will be Everton manager. He probably. I'm not trying to disrespect the man, but whenever the club run out of ideas, that's who they run to. I think Dunk's first job being at Everton, it could end similarly to Frank Lampard at Chelsea, in a sense where, he gets at what could arguably be his number one job right away. If he fails, is that it for Dunk? It's one of those where I just don't know. I don't know if going for Dunk as the interim manager again is going to work. I think it's ridiculous. It's this overall thing it's stupid. Like, apparently, players found out that the bloody Lampard was sacked over TalkSport, which is, what are we doing, really? So it's one of those. It's one of those where it's an interesting situation overall. I think it's probably going to be Bielsa. If Bielsa's number one on Mashiri's list, it means it's probably going to be Bielsa, unless Bielsa turns us down, which is a possibility. But I'm trying to think. Out of the list we've got, you've got your Dyches, your Big Dunks, your Moises, your Rooneys. By the way, I pray it's not Wayne Rooney. No offense to Rooney, but I pray it's not him. DC United have been absolutely terrible. And I know their squad is apparently awful, but it gets to a point where, similar with Lampard, when can you just blame the players? The MLS, I don't think the new season has started, but in the last season, DC finished bottom of the league. I don't know how many games Rooney took charge of, but if we want to survive relegation, bringing a manager who finished rock bottom in the MLS, maybe let him have a bit more time in the MLS and let him develop more as a manager before we're going, okay, yeah, let's just bring in Rooney. So I think it's one of those where, to be honest with you, I think it's a three horse race. I think it's Bielsa, Dyche, or Santo Nuno. I don't think there's any other name. I can't see anyone like Ange Postecoglou in. I hope the club doesn't bring in the 9-0 man himself, Ralph Hasenhüttl. I'm trying to think of other managers. There's apparently Domenico Tedesco, who I believe managed RB. I think does he still manage RB Leipzig? I think. I don't know. Former RB Leipzig manager, Domenico Tedesco. I think Marcelino's on here. Somehow Graham Potter's 40-1. Marcelo Gallardo's 22-1. I just look at the list and it's just disappointing. It's just like Russell Martin's on this list, and I think out of all the managers Everton could realistically get, it's got to be Dyche. Don't get me wrong, the kamikaze style of Bielsa is the idea where, at least if we go down, it'll be fun. But I also think, to be honest with you all, if we go down, I think we go the Sunderland or the Derby route. I don't think we get one of these teams, or the Stoke route, which is probably even worse. I just can't see us doing a Norwich, a Fulham, even a Sheffield United, one of those teams. I just can't see it. If we go down, I think it'd be. I think the club would go into absolute shambles. We definitely get some sort of FFP here on us. I think it's one of those where Bielsa could work, but the only issue with Bielsa is when it blows up, it's nuclear. Bielsa could work. Bielsa could work for 6 months, keep us up. We play fantastic football and we finish like 12th somehow. But then there's the second season where things start to fall apart and we finish rock bottom because we won't get the right man in after Bielsa. Because there's the thing, is if we go, because it wouldn't really surprise me if we go from Bielsa, sack Bielsa, bring in someone like Dyche, who hopefully not, because the entire point of this director of football is meant to be that we have a specific plan for when things like this happen, which is why I do think it'll be Nuno, because of Kevin Felwell's links with Wolves and the three at the back. I just think it's one of those where, I think, like I said, I can't see it being Moyes. I know what Moyes said in his press conference about Everton, but I think Moyes is going to stay at West Ham. I can't imagine Moyes leaving West Ham for Everton because they're in a much, much better position than us to survive, much better players, and then you just look at the other names and you go, Lee Carsley's on here. I think he manages England's under-21s. I think, Bielsa, Dyche, and Santo, I genuinely think are the only three that'll even get considered for this job. And it won't be a surprise at all that, that happens. It won't be a surprise in the slightest if we go down. There's a lot of stuff about Ralph Hasenhüttl at Everton that I'm saying, no, it's just, I just can't see us bringing in a manager, hopefully, that puts Southampton in the position they're in. I don't think he's an awful coach, but when it comes to surviving, I don't think he's very good at that, considering they had to bring in Nathan Jones just to do it. It's just, I don't know. To be honest, it's really hard to sit here and try speak like I know what we're doing, because I don't. I don't have a clue. I don't have a actual clue what we're going to do, because it's Everton. We don't go for the smart option. We either go for one far option or the other far option. So the answer might be somewhere in the middle, and we just decide to just completely just forego that and go, no. I really do. If I had to pick, though, I'd just say it being Bielsa. I just see in Mashiri's mind, Mashiri thinking good football equals fans like us. Never mind the fact that we'll lose every game by 4 goals. Apparently, odds came out around 20 minutes ago again. Now Dyche is the favourite over Bielsa. I don't know what's happening, because something said Dyche all of a sudden is, something said about Dyche being not considered for the job. Now Dyche is the favourite for the job. It's just one of those. Rooney and Duncan until the end of the season, and if we stay, give them another 3 years. Is Rooney still at DC United? Is he really going to leave a stable job just for a possible 6 months where he could get relegated and sacked again? We just need to. I just can't see it being us staying up under Duncan and Rooney, mate. I can't. Rooney has done absolutely terrible at DC United. I know they'll motivate the players, but in the end, there's a clear skill gap as well. We desperately need players in. I don't know what's happened to the centre backs, to be honest with you. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. Is it a thing where they're not being protected properly? But Tarkowski still looks good in a sense. Tarkowski still looks like he's doing a job, but it looks like it's Tarkowski on an island, and the rest of the defenders going, well, it's not our job. What do we do? It's one of those things where I really can't think of what the club are going to do, because we're in such a mess that it really wouldn't surprise me if the club just goes absolutely throw something stupid at the wall in the last hopes of survival. Offers some absolutely crazy, just ridiculous thing and go, here you go, deal with it, have fun. Because it's like Dylan says here, we need to stay up. It's not about, we want to stay up or something like that. It's just about the fact that we outright need to stay up because the finances of the club. Yeah, no, I think if we go down, we're done. I think, the finances will absolutely tear us apart. We won't be able to I don't think we'll be able to bring signings in to the Championship. I think we'll do, no, Rooney as assistant and Dunk as the gaffer. They'll demand, let me put this up for you so people can see it. Dunk was class after Silva went, and he's just been under Carlo. Yeah, I know what you mean, mate. And do you know what? It'd probably be better than Nuno, to be honest with you. But I think it's one of those things where if we're just bringing in another manager and going, well, there you go. Here's Dunk again. Is it going to be, is it going to get to the point eventually where some of the fans start to, because you know what the fan base is like on Twitter and stuff, the fan base starts to turn on someone like Dunk because of, they're just sick of the board. And I think, like I said, I don't think this changes until members of the board leave. Specific members named Bill leave. That's it, done. Retires, bye-bye, go enjoy yourself doing whatever you do, But it's a situation where you look at it and go, the same thing has happened year after year after year after year. There's a certain point where you just can't blame the managers and the players anymore. Don't get me wrong, I think Frank does take quite a large majority of this blame. But at the same time, it's an overall problem with the club. The atmosphere is the problem at the club. You know, it's just, I don't know what we'll do. Because I feel like this is a thing where this is going to be rushed. I feel like this entire hiring process is going to be rushed because we need to bring players in for the window. I think it's just going to be massively rushed. I think there's going to be no thought, no time put into it, and they don't have time. We don't have time, and it's saying one of those where maybe someone like Bielsa could keep us up just out of pure shock value of just going away from what Everton have done for years, which is just sit and pray to this kamikaze attack style of football. It might work. It might catch some teams off guard enough to the point where we get the points to stay up. Because thankfully, we've decided to be absolutely crap since we've decided to be the worst we've been in arguably one of the best chance seasons to survive for us. Because the thing is, between Bournemouth in 18th and Aston Villa in 11th, there's only 11 points with 18 games left. Realistically, any team from 11th to 20th could go down. Obviously, Chelsea have only got 1 point more than Villa, but I'm not going to include Chelsea. I probably won't include Villa either, but it's just, so even 12th till 20th, every single team could go down. And all it's about is if we can hit form at the right time and other teams can hit form at the wrong time, which is possible. Leicester are on absolutely terrible form right now. Bournemouth are terrible. Southampton, ironically, Southampton beat us as they won win. Wolves aren't very at pulling up many trees. Leeds are drawing every game they play practically. So it's one of those where you look at it. Leeds have also got a game in hand though, so that could change everything. It's one of those where you look at it and go, there's a chance, but the right man needs to come in for that. Dylan, again, puts, how many managers has it been since Moisey left? A lot now. Add another one to that. Yet again, the incompetence of the theatre lovers. Yeah, that's it. It's incompetence from the board. It's a man who, Bill Kenwright, Fard Mashiri, who think they know about football, who just think that they know how football works. When they don't, understandably, they're businessmen, they know how business runs, they know, well, you think they know how to turn a profit, but we're bordering on FFP, and if we go down, game over, probably. So, yeah, but thank God Nuno has I agree with this massively, Eugene, about Nuno in Saudi Arabia having, here we go, any team under 25 points are in this. In fact, you need 40 points to stay up, but it's possible for us, but very hard with you. Exactly, that's it. So, like you said, 25 points up below Dylan would be from 12th to Southampton at bottom. But knowing our luck, it'll be Southampton and Bournemouth who managed to get out. Well, we just sat rooted to the foot of the table with 20 points at the end of the season because, it's a thing where, we can't go. I don't think we can go down. But the thing is, even if we go down, it's not going to be one of those where you go down like Newcastle did, where you go, okay, all the signs are there that we can come straight back up and things are going to be good. Cool. We can. It's not ideal, but we can do one season in the Championship. That won't be us. We're not ran. In fact, saying that was Mike Ashley Newcastle, and you know what? That's still probably better than us without the club will run. So it's one of those where you look at it and go, like, if you look at our next few matches, if I get our next few matches up, we've got Arsenal, then Liverpool. We've got the rest of January we don't play. We've got, I don't think we're in any, no, we're not in any of the cups. The rest of January we don't play. So the manager's got time to at least get used to a few of his players until the 4th when we play Arsenal. Then the 13th. The winnable games start coming at the 18th with Leeds, Villa, Forest, Brentford. 3 of those being home games with Leeds, Villa, Brentford. This new manager, the first thing they need to do is make sure we're winning games at Goodison Park. We've lost to Southampton at Goodison Park. We've lost to Brighton at Goodison Park. Brighton a good side, but 4-1 at Goodison Park. We've lost to Wolves at Goodison Park this season. We've bloody... and then, okay, after that, there's not any massively embarrassing defeat at Goodison Park this season, I don't think. But you just look at those past few results under Frank and go, you look after Brighton. How does he stay after Brighton, to be completely honest with you? How does he stay after losing 4-1 to Brighton? Because we got lucky and played against a crap Man City and Damari Gray pulled some magic out of his locker to say it wasn't anything tactical. With the Man City game, yeah, we just sat back, prayed. The players played hard, and Damari Gray scored a wonder goal. That was it. I'm sorry, it had nothing to do with Frank, and I don't like dragging on Lampard because I liked Lampard. That last few months of keeping us up, he got some really good results for the club. But at the same time, I think then you've got to get to the point where you understand that he just wasn't good enough, and but it's even like I think he sacked over the phone. Like he was genuinely just had a phone call, see you later, mate, do one, bye. And then people wonder why people don't want to join the club and things like that. It doesn't really surprise. But even if we have to go, if we have to go off what we're going to more than likely get, which my guess is Bielsa, Dyche, or Dyche. Maybe Dunk. Maybe the club just dips back in there again. If we're lucky, we might get someone different. But, more than likely not. I don't see it being any other names, So let's say, we've got, from what I've seen, we had Bielsa play the sort of 4-1, 4-1, 4-3-3 hybrid at Leeds. I can't see us sign. I don't know who we're going to sign because there was rumours coming around that we were going to have 2 players signed or 2 players ready to be announced or almost signed today. I don't know if that's still true because we sacked Lampard. Danjuma's in. Danjuma's done. I think that's fantastic. By the way, I think that's a fantastic loan deal. I think getting someone like Danjuma in who's a winger with some end product, with some trickery about him, is something we desperately need. Could I also see Danjuma being played as a striker in a front 2 if someone like Dyche came in? Almost definitely in a very similar role to what Maxwell Cornet did for Burnley. I could see Danjuma doing for us, where he's put up front and next to Calvert-Lewin. And I think, that would really help Calvert-Lewin. I think he's had some absolutely stinkers. That last game he was absolutely awful, but the fella's got no help. Maybe he isn't as good as we all thought. Which was a 20-goal a season striker. Maybe not, but he can't even be a 15-goal a season striker if he's stuck by himself up top and just praying. He's praying on long balls from Jordan Pickford to keep us in games. So it's one of those where at least whoever we're going to get in, Bielsa or Dyche, are more, they've got more tactical nous about them than someone like Frank Lampard does. So at least there's the hope that, hey, maybe this manager might make substitutes at the right time, may switch up the system if we're playing against a bigger team, all these things that Frank Lampard would fail at miserably, maybe one of these 2 managers can do. But, I don't know if anyone in the chat can think of any out there names, any managers that you think it's possible that we get in that are in that list of 4 or 5 and that are actually realistic. There's names on here like, I don't know how like Thomas Frank and Graham Potter's on this list. I mean, he's 40-1, but he's on the list, which I just think is stupid for him to even be on it. But, it's one of those where Leighton Baines is 20-1. Sean Dyche, is officially favourite now at 2-1. But yeah, you look at some of the names on here. Marcelo Gallardo, that'd be a big risk from the club. I don't know if he'd join. River Plate manager did really good things with them, but we don't know if he can even speak English, if he's got, But then odds on Nuno have just gone up again. And I really think it's a 3-horse race between Dunk, Bielsa, Dyche. I saw Thomas Frank, good manager, but he'll need time and we are impatient. Exactly. I don't think Thomas Frank leaves Brentford with what they're doing as well. He's doing good things with Brentford. And Brentford are basically locked in to stay up. So why would he go to us where there is still the potential that his tactics don't click and we go down? I think he could do well. A striker like Calvert-Lewin. I don't think he's on the level of Ivan Toney, to be honest with you. But I think he could get things out of a striker like Calvert-Lewin. I don't know if he was the manager when Neil Maupay was banging goals in the Championship. But if he was, we've seen him get the best out of Neil Maupay. You scroll down this list and you look at some of the names, you see Brendan Rodgers. Is Brendan Rodgers really going to jump from sinking ship to sinking ship when the second sinking ship is the rivals of the team of his old club? Probably not. Lee Carsley, can't see it. Mauricio Pochettino, absolutely no chance. Looking at even some of the good names, Vincent Kompany. Why is Vincent Kompany going to leave basically guaranteed promotion at this point for possible relegation? Carlo Ancelotti, there's rumours he's going to get sacked by Madrid and he's not coming back. Chris Wilder and Dean Smith would be dreadful. I don't know how Diego Simeone is only 33-1. I don't know how Diego Simeone and Gary Rowett are the same odds, but I'm not going to question it. then you've got managers like Steven Gerrard and Alan Pardew is on the list. But you look at it, I think it's that top three, that Dyche, Bielsa, Dunk. Can't see it being anyone else, to be honest with you. Maybe in some weird world, David Moyes leaves West Ham and joins us, but is he going to keep us up? This is a completely different Everton to the Everton he managed. It's ran completely differently to when he was the manager. So I think it's one of those where I don't know. What do we do? What is there genuinely any name people can think of that isn't one of the generic names, like I've said, the top three who genuinely would join Everton, who you think would either leave their job or say, I'm going to risk my reputation to manage you? Because, I'm just not looking, because I'm just waiting on Twitter for some Everton fans to start suggesting Thomas Tuchel. I'm waiting for it. Because I know it's coming. I know it's coming eventually, and I'm just like, here we go. This isn't going to be good, is it? But, you just look at it and go, well, what are we going to do? What way are Everton going to find a way to somehow make this worse? I think, Alan Myers said that Everton need a strong character, and Bielsa is definitely that. They are right there. I think, a strong character like Dyche or Bielsa could really motivate the players. Hasenhüttl is an awful link. I agree with you, Dylan. I think it's an absolutely dreadful link. But it's one of those where is Bielsa going to have enough time to implement his style, that high-pressing, high-energy style, which our players have shown they can press. A few of them have shown they can do that. But do I really expect to see Dominic Calvert-Lewin absolutely chasing full speed at a centre-back? No. To be honest with you, I don't. Do I expect that from early any of the players except maybe Onana and probably someone like Patterson? Not all. Absolutely not all. So it's one of those where I just don't know. I think it's, if we're going off system and what fits the club and what will probably work best, I think Sean Dyche makes the most sense. Because, Sean Dyche has shown he can work with very little in the past. He's shown, he doesn't have this, he doesn't need this war chest of funds to keep Burnley in the league. And eventually they did go down. But I think that is in a similar fashion to what happened with us. And, in a similar fashion of it took too long for Burnley to get the checkbook out. And now, well, we're a bit different in the fact that we're not getting the checkbook out because we can't at a risk of being punished for it. So I think it's one of those where is there any really chance it's anyone different except Sean Dyche or Bielsa? No. I can't even really see Duncan Ferguson being given the job because, I know Farhad wants to sell the club. Apparently he's rumoured to wanting to sell the club now. If he goes to sell the club, how is it going to work then if we're in the Championship? Because he's not going to get nearly the money he wants. Are people really going to want to fund this stadium for a team that's in the Championship? You look at all these factors that play a part in, and, maybe Moshiri goes absolutely out of his way because he wants to sell the club. And then, he wants to sell the club and he wants to get the most for it. He's not going to get anything for the club if we're down. That's just a matter of fact. And I don't think anyone should be surprised by that fact, So we look at, I can only see it being those two. So I think I'm going to look at the perspective of what if them two came in. First, Bielsa, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, he played that 4-1-4-1 kind of 4-3-3 hybrid. I think he switched over to a 3-4-3 towards his end of his time at Leeds, but I think that was just him experimenting to make sure he didn't lose his job. I can see us moving that 4-3-3. I see it being the same I see us playing that 4-1-4-1 and not the 3-4-3, sorry. I see the same back line, Patterson, Tarkowski, Cody, Mikalenko. I don't know. What does everyone think about Connor Cody? I don't think he's been very good the past few games. Is that a Frank thing? Is Connor Cody just not as good as we thought? I think Tarkowski's done his job and the fella's throwing himself in front of everything. But Cody's one of those ways. Cody being let down by people like Mikalenko, who's positioning bad. He's being let down by the fullbacks. Or is it him? It's one of those where he just hit a bit of a slump, which is natural for some footballers. But I see it being under Bielsa, I see it being that same back four, that Patterson, Tarkowski, Cody, Mikalenko. I see it then being Gay as the holding midfielder, and then the four before Calvert-Lewin would be Danjuma, Iwobi, Onana, Gordon, with Calvert-Lewin up top. I think that's what I see us playing under a manager like Bielsa, because, you've got those two banks of four then. even with game between to defend the centre backs. So I think it offers us a sense. It offers us, if we're going to play that style, that sense of structure in this formation. There's two banks of four that teams are going to have to break past, and then it gives us pressing options between links of players like Iwobi and Danjuma, Onana and Gordon, Iwobi Gay, Onana Gay. You've got one of those things where we could do things like that, but is a manager like Bielsa, who is a good tactician, going to be able to implement that into our players in enough time to keep us up? Or are we going to do a Burnley where we're still going to go down because we start winning games too late? It could be one of those. But like I said, the most likely option I see is being Dyche in that 4-4-2. Again, same back four. Can't really see any changes to the back four. And because it being a 4-4-2, I see it being Iwobi on the right, Ajusige, Onana. And then on the left-hand side of midfield, I can't pick between Gordon and McNeil. He had McNeil at Burnley, but you also have seen that Anthony Gordon, when he's playing at his best, he's a very high-energy player. He's got that pace that someone like Sean Dyche would like. The crossing's not there and the delivery's not at the best with someone like Gordon, but you're getting raw pace and you're getting some work ethic. But is it the thing where Gordon's head being turned, so he's not going to, he's just going to go, well, I could leave, so what should I? But I see it, in the end, I'd probably see it being Gordon, but it wouldn't surprise me if Dyche played McNeil. Then we'd have a front two of DCL and Danjuma, with Danjuma kind of playing that Maxwell Cornet role of giving Calvert-Lewin someone to link on, someone to nod the ball to from those crosses. That's in the end, that's what I see it being. But, you look at it and it's really hard to tell. Especially when now, if you look onto Twitter, the club's just going into shambles now. But yeah, I think if we go, back to someone like Lampard, you look at it and go, there has been highs. There's been the Crystal Palace game, 2-0 down, going on to win it. The celebrations after the game, we don't really care what other fan bases said. The celebrations after the game of staying up. I remember the Chelsea game where we won. I think, there was a few others where he really managed to get the best out of someone like Richarlison over that time, and I think that is because Richarlison, he was firing on all cylinders and desperate to keep us up. But you looked at a lot of things over that period, and there were some good memories under Frank, and memories that probably convinced a lot of Everton fans that, hey, maybe this guy won't be as bad. After all, maybe he'll actually be able to progress us somewhere, which is what a few of us were saying at the start of the season. Unfortunately, we were proven wrong, and it didn't work out, but. I think Frank does lead the club with some memories, but he also has, really low. He has low lows to go with his highs, the drubbing we got from Arsenal at the end of that season, the pummeling from Brighton, the multiple losses at home that have just happened, and the overall atmosphere of the club being at an almost all-time low while he's in charge. Is that his fault? Necessarily, he takes a part of the blame, but I think the majority of that falls on the board. And I think it's just Lampard's time at the club has been, there's never really been a middle ground. It's always been very up or very down, and I don't think that surprises me at this club, to be honest with you. I don't think there's ever a middle ground at this club. It's either very high highs or very low lows. So it's one of those where we're going to have to bring in a manager who can understand that reputation, or maybe even a manager that can make us find those middle grounds, or of at least a semblance of consistency, something the club's lacked for years now. We had some under Ancelotti, but then we still had those silly strings of inconsistently under Carlo. So can we find a manager that can really bring us that sense of consistent football that you need to be able to play to keep a team in the Premier League? I do think, like I mentioned, I think he should have been sacked after Brighton. That, or even possibly Bournemouth before that, give a new manager a full January to work with to see what he can do. But, they stuck it out with Frank. Maybe if, is this going to be controversial? Maybe if they stuck it out with someone like Marco Silva, maybe things would have worked out better. You see the absolute miracles Marco Silva's working with Fulham right now, I don't want to point out and go, well, he would have done it, Maybe if we would have given Eddie Howe the job when we had a chance to, and, all of Twitter seemed to be against it, maybe we need a situation. But there's no point really falling into hypotheticals of what if we did this and what if we did that, when we have to look at what are we going to do? What will we do? We can't really look at what we could have done. We need to look at what we will do. So, there's been rumours of clashing in the dressing room, but like I said, at this club, that doesn't really surprise me. I'm not surprised at all that there's been clashing in the dressing room between players, coaches. It just seems to be a thing with this club. It's just what happens. But you look at it and you go, which manager's probably best to bring us any sense of stability? Survival is the main priority. Hey, we got Michael's put something here. Survival is now the main priority. Sean Dyche all the way. Not saying he'll be there long term, but at the moment he has one job to do, and he'll give us the bounce required to pull clear. I do think you're right. I think he's a gritty manager. He's clearly got some affection from the club in stuff he said in the past, and I think he's got a group of players there, like someone like McNeil, who understand his philosophy and will hopefully help other players buy into that to the point where maybe he can be a long-term option for us. He got Burnley into the Europa League with barely any funds. Maybe he could do something similar with us if given some money. But that's the matter of fact in it. But you look at things like, and then you look at, could this day get any worse? Chelsea have shown an interest in Everton duo Anthony Gordon and Amadou Onana. Does that surprise me? Absolutely not at all, because it seems that when Everton news comes in, it all piles up on top of each other to the point where you just go, well, here we go again. So it's one of those where I do agree. I think it should be Dyche, unless we could pull some sort of miracle and get one of the top managers in. If we're looking at the realistic candidates, it has to be Dyche, maybe Bielsa, if Bielsa's given a few signings. I think it's time to move on. I think the club probably has an idea of who they want to hire, and I think they've probably known who. And apparently this new bid from Chelsea for Anthony Gordon, by the way, have considered making a bid that Chelsea have considered making a bid that could involve sending Anthony Gordon back to Everton on loan. But it's one of those where we need these funds. And I know we've got a bit of money coming in from Moise Kean in the summer, but will we be even in the Premier League in the summer to spend that money is what I'm thinking. So I agree with people like Michael and Erwin who have said it has to be Sean Dyche, because I think no other manager is going to give us that stability. You look at Bielsa and you look at someone like Bielsa, and I think his ceiling's higher than someone like Sean Dyche's. But I also then think Sean Dyche's floor is higher than what Marcelo Bielsa's going to give us. So I think it's one of those where I think if you want the possibility of the highest highs, it's a matter of 6 months, you go for Bielsa. If you want a matter of consistency and the best chance of survival we've got, you got Sean Dyche. But I don't know what the club's going to do. Bielsa and Dyche are on two completely different ends of the spectrum of types of managers, and so it really shows. I thought under this new regime we'd have a specific type of manager we want who plays a specific system. Instead we've got option A and option B on completely different ends of the spectrum to each other. So it doesn't look like much just changed, even with the director of footballing. No offense to Kevin, but has anything changed? If the exact same problems are seeming to rear their head the day Frank Lampard sacked, don't get me wrong, it could just be rumours. It could just be Sky Sports on the papers drumming up rumours to get clicks. But it's one of those where I do think it's going to be an interesting next few days. Hopefully it's announced in the next few days. I can imagine Dan Juma's hopefully going to be announced tonight. Are Everton going to announce Frank Lampard's been sacked? And by the way, here's our out Dan Juma, probably. But it's one of those where you look at it and go, let's see what's going to happen. There's a chance Everton could surprise us, just like they did when we brought Ancelotti in. But at the same time, were we this bad when Ancelotti came in? Probably not, to be honest with you. But, if anyone wants to pop out in the chat, this is really all I can think to talk about, really. We can run in circles and we can talk about some of the other candidates. But I don't see them being any except the top three. I don't know what Duncan Ferguson will want to play. Will he play a similar system that Ancelotti played? Will he? We don't know yet until someone's in. With Dyche and Ferguson, with Dyche and Bielsa, we can get a guess. We can gauge what they might do. With someone like Dunk, I would have absolutely zero clue what the fella's going to do when he comes in. If he comes in, what his plans will be, what his tactics will be. Mashiri will get us Gerrard, I can tell. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't surprise me if Mashiri hires Gerrard, and then we find out at the end of the season, after we've gone down and sacked him, that this entire thing from Mashiri was just a social experiment to see how much pain people would put up with before giving up with something. But, I think that's all from me. If you did enjoy the stream, please make sure to like and subscribe to the Toffee Blues. Follow us on Twitter and follow me on Twitter. Big Sam again, bringing back. And follow me on Twitter at Callum Brandon Free. Follow the account on Twitter at Everton Newsfeed. Put in the comments what managers you think we should sign and why. Thank you all for watching the stream. And which players will you get? Which players will leave? You guys get relegated, right? Go on. We'll do this before I finish up quickly. Then we'll do. Before I go, if I quickly get our squad up, because this is actually quite an interesting question, because I think this is actually a lot more difficult to answer than people might think. So the players who will definitely leave: Pickford, Yerry Mina will definitely leave. I think a club would come in for Ben Godfrey. I think Amadou Onana would definitely leave. I think Iwobi would leave. I think Idrissa Gueye would leave. I think Calvert-Lewin would leave. I think Anthony Gordon would leave. And that's it. So I could see 8 players leaving. Maybe more will come in if there's relegation release clauses where we can get rid of them for cheaper. But they're the ones that I could look at and go, they're definitely going to leave. Those 8 players. But besides that, I don't really know. But as I did say, thank you all for watching the stream. If you did enjoy it, please make sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Follow the Toffee Blues at Twitter, at Callum Brennan3 and at Everton Newsfeed. Thank you all for watching the stream. Put in the comments who you think Everton are going to bring in as the manager and some potential signings that may come with that manager. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next stream. Bye, everyone.